Let me commandeer the spot you're in. All right. I'm glad you Could we ask everybody to close in? We're going to do this without a microphone. And for those of you who are speaking, just so you're aware, we are going to tape this and hopefully run several pieces of it on our brand new website because this is such an important and historic day for Rosemont College. I want to thank you all for being here and for being a part of this wonderful event. One of the things that occurred to me very early on when I first got here was in looking at the areas here on campus, those areas that were designated for contemplation, for, well, reflection and really prayer, that they were in various degrees of, let's just say, needing of some attention. Thankfully, as we all know, right now there's scaffolding in the air, thanks in large part to the support that Sister Peg Doyle was able to gather. We're getting the Immaculate Conception Chapel back into the state that it deserves to be. Those of you who live in Heffernan may know that our chapel in Heffernan is under construction right now in order to restore it to the glory that it should be in. And then there was here, this beautiful garden, this obvious grotto, this place of hopefully coming and being at peace, and if so desired, spending a couple of moments, perhaps praying, speaking to God. And we are now in what really is a magnificent jewel here on our main campus, and that was made almost exclusively possible by a fabulous alum and alumna from the class of 1966, Ann Donovan Marshall, who is here with us today. And in a couple of moments, I'm going to ask Ann, who has never stopped her support for Rosemont, in fact serving as a distinguished member of our Board of Trustees. I'm going to ask her to step forward in a couple of moments, but before that, as I mentioned, because this place is not only beautiful, but a place that in many regards we hope students, faculty, staff, alums think of as a sacred place as well. We thought that there would be no more appropriate way to rededicate this beautiful garden and grotto than with a blessing and prayer. And so to lead us as she does every day in maintaining our commitment to our mission and our values here at Rosemont, I'll turn the floor over to Sister Peg Doyle, our Vice President of Ministry and Mission. Sister Peg.
A garden blessing. God, we need peace, so we come to the garden for quiet. We need joy, so we come to the garden for our senses. The green leaf, the rich crumbling smell of soil, and the scent of pine needles, the sounds of small life of a chipmunk and bird that come and go in all places natural, the rough texture of gravel and the delicacy of a flower petal.
We need to let things go, so we come to the garden for rest. And we need to let people go, so we come to the garden to remember them. And today we remember Mr. and Mrs. Kistler and their daughter Gertrude.
We need hope, so we come to the garden to watch things grow, reminding ourselves to be planters and to enjoy what others have planted.
We need benches where we can begin to let Sabbath in our lives. We need paths to make us recognize our own journeys. We need a justice commitment to the environment, a global commitment that calls us to action, but we also need a small square of real earth to root our speeches and to get our hands dirty.
We need community. So we come to this garden to give and receive a shared blessing, not the result of our personal winter catalogs, spring compost, and summer weeding. To give and receive a shared blessing from the hand of the sower of seeds. Amen.
Amen.
So, where this all started with this particular area was that when, again, I first arrived on Rosemont's campus and walked across Conley Green, I saw what looked like just an overgrown mess. It really looked in many regards like a jungle, full of invasive species, vines choking off some beautiful pieces of flora that was in many regards embarrassing. And even more so because it was so insular, didn't allow the rest of the community, unless you knew it was here, and I can't tell you how many alums and even staff and faculty had commented to me, I had no idea that that relief was even here. But it became part of, I think, our shared desire that we recapture this area, that we repurpose it. And I happened to, on one day, be walking, actually, obviously later, I happened to be one day walking through campus with none other than then trustee, now trustee emeritus, Ann Marshall, and explaining the vision of what it is that I had hoped and we had all hoped might someday be this beautiful place. And knowing, I have to admit, I knew she had a green thumb and has a very distinguished career as, I guess, an amateur horticulturalist, but certainly I would even categorize her skills as professional. But she immediately jumped in and immediately said, I share your vision, I see things that even you don't, and I'd like very much to take part in that restoration, in that beautification. Anne came in with a team that removed some rather nasty things that were here, put in the plantings that you see, all of the native plantings that now we can all enjoy, and did so, not to embarrass her, but did so with her own money, and probably even more precious, her own time and talent. It is yet again another extraordinary demonstration of her personal support to Rosemont, to its students, and I'm so happy that so many of you are here, to her fellow alums, who I know there are many from the class of '66 that are here, and to the faculty and staff. And so I think it appropriate at this point to ask Anne to step forward so that she could give a couple of personal reflections, and once again, so we have an opportunity to thank her for this extraordinary commitment. Anne.
This is going to be short. And what a lovely, meaningful way to reacquaint ourselves with this grotto. When Jim asked me last summer if I'd be interested in reclaiming the grotto from the weeds and vines that had totally obscured it, I think I said, I thought you'd never ask.
That's exactly what you said.
The area was so overwhelmingly overgrown, as Jim has said, that there was very little sunlight and much, much, much poison ivy. Many younger board members, again, as Jim has said, alums and students had no idea the space even existed. So last fall, 2023, I hired a landscaper and we began the mighty task of tearing away the mountains of Ampelopsis, which is coarsenberry,
which had to be removed not only because of the damage it was doing, it was just covering everything, but also because it is on the list of noxious weeds which Lower Merion Township requires to be removed. The new railings, which I hope you look at because the guy is such an artist, are done again to township code, and the mason did a masterful job of replacing cracked walkways. We cut down dying trees and non-native trees and bushes and slowly brought in the sunlight. Happily, there were many existing rhododendrons and azaleas, which are still here, that were healthy and could be salvaged. We worked from September until mid-November of last year, and we continued working this spring until June, when the majority of plants were planted and the stumps were removed or chipped. Frank, you have to raise your hand over here. Our wonderful Frank. Oh, raise your hand.
Right.
Fred. It's
Fred, okay, has been a lifeline by watering, sorry, has been a lifeline by watering weekly and weeding. And you have no, I mean, that's the way it looks, the way it does today. In all this time spent working on the garden, I've had the privilege of seeing students drawn to this space, singing quietly with the guitar, studying with professors, and taking naps, and I kid you not, on those benches. Faculty and employees traveled through here to and from the parking lot. The grotto has returned to what so many of us remember, a protected shelter where one can commune with nature. So, thank you.
So oftentimes the words "thank you" don't seem to be enough. But we do have a couple of small tokens of our esteem for what it is that you've done.
Oh my goodness.
We have
Present.
a lovely present. Sister, do you want to explain what that is?
Yes, all right.
To be put on the spot, sister, go right ahead.
It is a framed image of the statue back there of the Holy Child with a beautiful verse on being a gardener. And it begins with be a gardener, dig a ditch, and it keeps going. And it all looks beautiful thanks to Susan DiGeronimo. So.
So there is one other thing as well, and Ann does not know this. And Ann, if you could walk over here. I think that this side right here, I think that it was altogether appropriate that we recognize the Kistler family once again for their extraordinary commitment to the early Rosemont College. That library behind us was built exclusively with money from the Kistler family in recognition and in memoriam to their daughter Gertrude. And this garden was originally established as a result too of their commitment to Rosemont. And we will forever be thankful to the Kistler family for what it is that they have done for our Rosemont. But not to recognize the extraordinary commitment of Ann Marshall, I think would be an oversight. And so the Rosemont community got together, we all talked about it, and we decided that, Ann, if you would take the other side of this and please remove it, you will find
Oh my goodness gracious.
that the garden has been renamed the Marshall Garden in recognition of all of the wonderful things that Ann has done for us. There will be a permanent plaque placed once we agree on what the terminology will be on the plaque, but we did not want this to pass in without you knowing just how much you've given to us, both with this marvelous space and with your lifetime of commitment to Rosemont College.
Thank you
So-
so much.
So with that, I think that, sister, concludes, that shaking of the head means that concludes the event here. For those of you that have been invited to the luncheon and have RSVP'd, please make your way to the Kistler Library. For the rest of you, thank you for joining us, and we hope you all enjoyed this magnificent space.